A couple of weeks ago, I moved back to Ecuador after living in New York for about 4.5 years. And ever since, I've been trying to reflect on what that journey has been like and what it has taught me. Quite frankly, I've struggled more than I thought I would trying to make this reflection. But on this new year, I had the privilege of finishing 2025 mountaineering on a route quite nostalgic to me, which helped give me a sense of direction as to what I wanted to write. I realized that the biographical information is not so important as the actual philosophical life lessons that have helped shape my current worldview. So, as such, in no particular order, I'll share some of those, or at least the ones I can think of off the top of my head. 1. Life is not a story, which I guess is why which I guess is related to why I was struggling to write the reflection. Life does not have fixed plot points or devices, and it narrows your own perspective to look at it as such. As far as my experience goes, there is no teleological reason as to why things happen, and for the most part, everything that happens is just a consequence of a mechanical chain of causes. I think the importance of this lesson for me is one of grounding, because it means that things always go the only possible way they could have, given the circumstances. And that helps take out both pride and shame from the events in one's life, as there is no moral failure or superiority that caused their occurrence. It just is what it is, no more, no less. And in accepting that, you can almost become like a conscientious observer to your own life and the life of others. Which brings me to my next point. You have to take people, too. You have to take people for who they are. Once again, taking this idea of a mechanical chain of causes, people are a consequence of their background. If you want to get super technical, they're a consequence of their gene environment interactions. But the point is, the best thing you can do as an individual is accept the people around you for who they are. Sometimes this means distancing yourself from people who aren't in your same track. But only through acceptance of yourself and others do I think you can find true fellowship. 3. Through that same token, even when there's strong bonds of fellowship, everybody is ultimately on their own path. Some paths are shared briefly, while others last longer. But ultimately, what's important is what you learn from those shared arcs, and the impact you have on the people you share them with. I think, regardless of the length of time the paths were shared, their value is in the mutually learned lessons, and it's important to recognize that even when dealing with now severed or separated paths, those lessons are valuable in themselves. In other words, friendships or relationships are temporary, but that makes them no less valuable. 4. Perhaps deviating a little from the underlying ethos of an amoral mechanical causality, on a functional level, I do believe that there are evil people in this world. However, the flip side of this coin is that the vast majority of people who hurt or fall short are just that, good people falling short. It is my genuine belief that the majority of people on this earth are good, caring individuals who have been burdened by circumstance to the point where they can sometimes struggle to do good. It's a difficult skill to develop to discern which type of person you're dealing with. But if you learn to identify malevolence, it allows you to identify the lack thereof. Through that, you can find peace knowing that the pain someone caused you was not personal, which, while that sometimes can be a source of pain in itself, it's it's easier to unburden yourself from it. Hurt people hurt people. So become aware of that and realize that for the most part, it's not personal. Awareness is the next lesson. The same way you have to be aware of other people's intentions, you have to try and be aware of your own. The burdens you carry, the chips on your shoulders, on how that might affect yourself and the people you love. Starting with yourself, it's important to look at your motivations and ask yourself what's really driving them. If you don't do that, then you risk achieving everything you've ever dreamed of and not feeling any satisfaction from it. A difficult exercise I've tried my best to engage in is to pretend selflessness does not exist. Through this exercise, ask yourself after any kindness or favor you do for people what it does for you. Are you trying to atone for a past sin? Are you trying to make yourself feel better through bringing happiness to others? Or are you projecting the love you're missing for yourself onto someone else? I think that if you actually engage with this exercise, then it is unbelievably revealing and not only serves to give you a greater insight into yourself, but also helps disconnect from a sense of entitlement because of perceived goodness. Which brings me to my last point for now. 6. Goodness should be freely given. Given the prerequisites of knowing who's worth loving and having the basis of understanding that there's no such thing as a selfless act, be as absolutely selfless as possible towards the people you love. The most fulfilling thing you can do as an individual is to help be a part of the journey towards the triumph of the people you care about. True love is given for the sake of itself. Whether it is reciprocated is irrelevant as long as it is well received. You are not entitled to anything for being a good person or doing a good deed. The deed itself is the reward. But having said that, the mechanical chain of consequence seems to favor those who do good. By that same token, not everybody is comfortable receiving affection, love, or support. And in that case, the most caring thing you can do is to respect that and direct your efforts elsewhere. Or understanding that you stand where you stand because dozens, if not hundreds of people helped get you there out of their own goodness should incentivize you to realize that the best thing you can do when it's impossible to pay people back is to pay it forward and just be a good human being. Those are those are as many lessons as I can weave together into a singular narrative for now. And of course, these lessons are nothing more than the factless philosophy of a 22-year-old who rarely follows their own advice. But I hope that these hard learned lessons I've gained consciousness of, but heavily struggled to follow, at least provide a different point of view from which you can generate and revise your own worldview. With that, I take my leave and say I'm looking forward to seeing what adventures await for me now that I'm back home. Happy New Year to all.